You lay one more finger on her, and I swear I'll drag your empire into the ground. Do you think anyone will believe you? A black woman who works as a waitress. That was the line. The one that broke through the music, the laughter, and the bubbles in the champagne. The one that made every mask in the room break just a little. The Royal Crescent Hotel in New Orleans was the scene of the crime. Women at the Royal Crescent Hotel in New Orleans used the glitter on their fingers to show how powerful they were for the future of humanity. They termed it a charity gala. But people had already departed the room when the camera started rolling. Serena Hale stood at the rear, holding a tray of champagne glasses with calm hands but heavy thoughts. She had been doing this serving clients who never looked her in the eye or called her by name. They saw her as simply another black female in a uniform smiling on cue. By design, it's invisible. That night, everything was different. Blaine Harlan, a rich software magnate and the guest of honor, stood under the chandelier with his expectant wife, Victoria, next to him. A drink that spilled, a strange laugh, then a slap. Tough, very loud. Victoria fell down and still no one moved. The guests didn't move. Not safe. The cameras weren't dangerous. Everyone turned their backs, scared of losing friends, prestige, and money. Everyone but Serena. She didn't want to be a hero. She didn't even know if she would be able to speak, but it did. Please stop. She is going to have a baby. Blaine looked around, furious. What did you just say? I told you to stop. You're hurting her. Then he said it. It's cold. Making fun of, do you really think anyone will believe you? A black woman who works as a waitress. There was no answer. But Serena didn't move. This time she didn't think twice. She didn't know it yet. But that one moment would start a war. Not just for Victoria, but for every woman, every voice, every hidden spirit that was told to be quiet. This affair is more than just a controversy. This is a narrative about black people, one of defiance, honor, and fire. You're watching Hidden Worth, a show that tells stories that have never been told before. And if you're still here, keep watching because of some voices. Don't let them shut you up. Before that night, Serena Hale had been nothing more than a shadow. She came in early, remained late, and learned how to hide between tables full of money and gossip. She was the girl who kept smiling, even when people spoke bad things about her. When someone else bumped into her, she said she was sorry. Even when they got her name wrong or didn't speak it at all, they still said, "Yes, ma'am." People weren't supposed to see her. No, not really. People at the Royal Crescent Hotel knew Serena for three things. How quiet she was, how fast she was, and how she smiled. It isn't the kind of smile that shows happiness. You smile like that because it makes you feel safer, because it prevents tips coming in and complaints from coming in. She was aware of the rules. Don't talk unless someone talks to you. Even if a guest is wrong, don't correct them. And most importantly, don't make a scene. She has seen coworkers get fired for less than asking someone not to hit them on the butt. But Serena stayed. Not because she liked the work, because she had to pay bills. A younger sibling who was starting community college. A mother with lupus who needed medicine every month. There were no funds, no safety net, and no one to catch her if she fell. "Sweetheart, bring me another," was said every time. Or, "You're pretty for a black girl." Or said girl instead of ma'am. She gulped it, smiled, went on. That was the way to stay alive. She wasn't mad. She was very tired. But that night, the moment the world finally saw her, she had just finished a double shift. Her feet hurt. She was already thinking about the cheapest way to get home by bus, and she had almost gotten through the night without anyone noticing. Not quite until she noticed the look of horror on Victoria's face. The last thing she heard was that smack. She broke something within. There was no scream. It felt more like ice slowly breaking. Be quiet. Unavoidable. She looked around, hoping and praying that someone else would come forward. The only things that moved were the bubbles in the champagne and the silence. She moved. Then Serena stepped into the middle of the room, for the first time in her life, to the center of power, and had the guts to live. She didn't feel strong. She was unwell, scared. But she also had another feeling real. People truly saw her for the first time. It wasn't just her uniform that made them notice her. She was more than just her skin, her. And even though their eyes felt like they were on fire, she didn't back down because she understood deep down. She had never been safe when she was invisible. But maybe someone else would be safe if they were spotted. Blaine Harlan didn't enjoy it when people interrupted him. Not from someone he didn't think was in the room, though. When Serena spoke, his head slowly turned like a tempest brewing behind frigid eyes. People say that rage is loud, but Blaine's wrath was calm, pointy, in charge, like the edge of a knife before it slices. He looked at her for a beat too long. It looked like he was trying to find out who she really was, not who. What? She stood there, little and shivering, holding a tray like it might protect her. But her eyes were calm, and that made him very angry. What did you just say? He questioned in a low, deadly voice. Serena's hands shook, but she didn't look away. I told you to stop. She is going to have a baby. He let out a quiet chuckle. Not funny mocking. You think this is your business? He said with a smirk. Serve drinks. That's all you need to do. Victoria, who was still on the ground, tried to talk. There was blood on her lip. She was so scared that her eyes were bulging, but all she could say was, Please don't. Blaine lost it. You made me look bad in front of the board, he roared. Get down! And pointed at her like she was dirt. You spilled a bottle of wine worth $2,000 on a suit worth $20,000. He moved quickly and aggressively toward her, but Serena was faster. She walked between them. The room got quiet. This time she didn't say anything. She just stood there. Put your hands up. Open your eyes like someone who is ready to be hit. And she was. Blaine hit her in the face without saying a word. Difficult. The noise was louder than the jazz band had ever made it. Serena stumbled, but she didn't fall, did not cry, didn't run. She just looked at him, one hand on her face. She was breathing through the flames that were burning her skin. That's when he said it. Do you really think anyone will believe you? He leaned in close and his voice was full of poison. You, a black woman serving food? The words hurt more than the slap, but she didn't move. She wouldn't give up. At that point, the power changed. Not in the room. The power changed inside her. Blaine Harlan possessed power, money, and authority. But Serena Hale had something else. People who saw it and a cell phone in her pocket. She gently reached down, took it out, and hit record. I don't need them to believe me, she remarked in a low voice. I only need them to see. And for the first time all night, someone in that room gasped. The room stopped for a second. It felt like the air had stopped moving. Serena remained there, her face burning, her hands shaking, and her phone filming. But she didn't move. Blaine Harlan blinked once as if he couldn't believe what he was witnessing. She was meant to break. She was meant to go away. Instead, she was still there. The guests were confused on what to do. They mumbled, their eyes flashing back and forth between Serena and the millionaire, like they were watching a tennis match that no one had bet on. Some people seemed impressed. Some people appeared really scared, but no one came to help until one man did. Rhys Donovan, the head chef at the hotel, moved forward from the edge of the hall, tall with broad shoulders and an apron on. He had been watching from the kitchen door, transfixed like everyone else until the slap hit him like a stone. Rhys had been friends with Serena for years. Every morning she brought coffee to the kitchen, paid for his sick days. He made the worst jokes, and she laughed at them. And now power, pride, and prejudice were going to tear her apart. He couldn't let that happen. Rhys pushed through a group of servers and went right up to Blaine. The room got quiet. He said, "That's enough," in a calm but forceful voice. "She told you to stop. Please leave. I'm asking you to." Blaine slowly turned, his gaze narrowing. "Do you know who I am?" he hissed. Rhys didn't move. "I do, but tonight, you're just a guy striking a woman who is pregnant." Security on the sides looked worried. They didn't get paid enough for this. They clearly weren't ready for PR problems. Blaine pointed and growled. "You both are fired. You'll never work in this city again." Rhys shrugged. "I'd rather not have a job than be part of it." He took out his own phone and started recording as well. Blaine's face grew pale, not because he was scared, but because he was thinking. He turned his head. Every phone in the room suddenly felt like a gun. Even the rich recognized that video was power. And tonight, he couldn't do anything about it. He stepped back, fixed his jacket. He made himself smile. "Well then," he answered through gritted teeth, "let's not make this a bigger deal than it is," but it was already too late. The stage was set. People were watching. Blaine Harlan was not the one holding the script for the first time in his life. Blaine Harlan didn't have the script. It was colder than it should have been the next morning. People knew New Orleans for its music, liveliness, and heat, but not that morning. The city seemed silent, not the type that brings calm, the kind that happens just before a storm. Serena Hale sat on the edge of her twin mattress in a studio apartment that was just a little bigger than a hotel restroom. She hadn't gotten any sleep. The slap still hurt her cheek, but the discomfort didn't keep her awake. It was the quiet. There were no reports in the news, no tweets, no headlines, nothing at all. It was as if the night had never happened. She looked at her phone, checked her news feeds, and searched for hashtags. Nothing about Victoria. There is nothing about Blaine Harlan, nothing about what happened. It was as if the night had never happened. Some guests had filmed parts of the action, but those videos were lost, gone like dirty dishes after a fine supper. It was wiped clean. Serena looked over her messages. Her best buddy sent her a text. "Are you all right? I saw something, but it's not there anymore. Be careful." The light on her voicemail was red. One new message from the hotel staff. "You are suspended right away while we look into your behavior at last night's event." She played it back 3 times as if she had heard it wrong. Bad behavior. She tried to keep a woman from getting hit, but the hotel didn't agree. They saw trouble, danger, responsibility. They spotted someone making the wrong type of noise. Her phone buzzed again. "Rhys, I got the same thing. They're putting this away." He sounded tired, lost. She didn't hold it against him. "Is the footage on her phone still there?" "Broken." It had ceased filming just before the slap. She didn't sure if it was an accident or anything else, but the proof was gone. She only had memories left and cuts. Serena heard a knock on the door by midday. She got a white envelope from a man in a black suit. There was a legal notification within. She never signed a confidentiality clause and a warning. Any attempt to talk about Mr. Harlan or his family in public could lead to legal action. She took a seat. shaking hands, burning eyes. They weren't scared. They were angry with rage. They were trying to get rid of her, make her not seeable again. But they didn't know the whole story. She had discovered her voice last night, and this time she wasn't going to give it back. Before you push post, your whole body questions everything for a moment. Serena Hale sat there. She sat on her old couch with her hoodie on, her hair tied up, and the screen of her laptop lit up in a dark room. It had been since the party, since the hit, since the quiet. Blaine Harlan was still in the news, but for all the wrong reasons, not because of what he did. It was because of the donations he made to charity. The press labeled him philanthropic, a leader with a vision. And what about Victoria? Not a single word was said, no articles. The hospital hasn't given any new information. No interviews. Gone. Serena's phone rang again. She got another text from a number she had blocked. Be wise. Be quiet. You won't gain anything. But Serena had already lost too much. Her work, the money she makes, her calm. She looked at the manuscript on her screen. It was her narrative. No filter, no spin. Can you please tell me what happened? When Victoria fell, it was a turning point. The look in her eyes spoke a lot. It was interesting how no one stepped in. Serena didn't have the whole video, but she knew the truth, and sometimes that's louder than proof. She took a breath, hit the record button, and they began to talk. Serena Hale is my name. I was working at the Royal Crescent Hotel's gala when I observed something that no one else wanted to see. She told everyone about the slap, about the quiet, about getting hit, about being told that no one would trust her. She put the video on her own page, did not put in any hashtags. She didn't put any news outlets in the video. She didn't have to. The story made sense on its own. Her inbox was full within hours. People she hadn't talked to in years sent her messages. People you don't know from different states. People who have been abused, ladies, guys, people who work, people who saw it. Someone else shared a small footage by midnight. It was hazy and unsteady, but it was real. It showed Serena stepping in, getting hit, standing up straight. Number justice for Victoria started to circulate. Another tag number Serena spoke also did. But the sunshine also brought shadows, threats, trolls. Fake accounts said she was lying, that she wanted to be famous. People thought she was making up the tale to get more power. Some news outlets even ran with that story. One headline read, "Waitress seeking spotlight." People listened, though. Despite the noise, they looked. They gave. Serena didn't say anything in response to the hate. She wasn't doing this to get approval. She did it because it needed to be done. And maybe, just maybe, if enough people spoke up with her, Victoria could finally speak up. The next few days felt like walking through fog. Serena Hale tried to keep out of the public eye as much as she could. Too many phone calls. She got a lot of messages, some are helpful, some are scary. She took the TV out of the wall. Social media was turned off. Let the world converse without her for a bit. She wasn't hiding because she was scared. It was tiredness because adrenaline doesn't last forever. Your body will eventually start to feel the pain of standing up. The hotel still hadn't answered. Blaine Harlan's team sent up a well-written statement. Mr. Harlan strongly disputes all the claims. He has always acted in a really professional way. Victoria wasn't mentioned. No worry about her health. There was only quiet. Serena's phone buzzed with a message that made her stop breathing one night. I saw what you did. Come to St. Jude's Hospital to see me. Midnight. Don't tell anyone. There wasn't a name. No picture, there was only one place and one moment. She looked at it for an hour. Was it a trap? A trick? But the message felt authentic in some way. The message seemed real, like someone was talking through a crack in the door. So she left. There was no noise in the hospital. Oh. Fluorescent lights buzzed across clean floors. She walked down the hall with her heart racing. Room 318. She knocked once, then she pushed the door open. There she was. Harlan Victoria, hurt, pale, wrapped in blankets that seemed too huge for her weak body. But her eyes, those eyes Serena would never forget, were clear. "You came," Victoria said softly. Serena walked in, shocked. "I wasn't sure if you were okay," they said. "You disappeared." Victoria smiled weakly. "I had to. He would have found me." They talked for a long time. Not simply about the night of the party, but it's about years of dread, control, and quiet. Victoria added, "I used to think no one would believe me. Then I saw you. You stood up when I couldn't. That made everything different." She opened a drawer and took out a little flash disk. "It's all here," she remarked in a low voice. "Video from security cameras. I took all I could before they deleted the servers." Serena took it, her hands shaking. "I don't know what to say." "Say the truth," Victoria said softly. "And this time, make sure the world hears." Two women, one black and one bruised, sat next to each other in a quiet hospital room. And for the first time, they both felt like they were seen. The city appeared different as Serena left the hospital that night. Not less loud, not safer, but more awake, like she had been given something holy, something both weak and strong at the same time. She held the flash drive in her pocket like it was a heart. She locked the door, turned off the lights, and opened her laptop as soon as she arrived home. There were 4 videos. One showed the ballroom an hour before the party started. Victoria was already flinching when Blaine went for his drink. Another showed a hallway that was only for personnel. Blaine is yelling, Victoria saying she's sorry. He took hold of Victoria's wrist, but the third video showed the world something it had never seen before. Not the slap that everyone was talking about, the one that came next. Blaine had followed Victoria into a dark hallway off the main ballroom just a few minutes after Serena had stopped the drama and hit her again. More difficult. 2 times, no music, no one saw it. There was only a camera left and no one knew it was still filming. Then Victoria fell down. That was when security finally got involved. Not to keep her safe. Instead, they were there to clean up. Serena watched the video 3 times. She stopped, rewound. She sat still. This wasn't just an attack. This was proof. It was the difference between being ignored and being heard, between rumors and justice. First, she called Rhys, told him everything. He drove over in silence, squeezing the steering wheel as if it might break. He didn't say anything for a whole minute after he saw the video. After that, he said, "This changes everything." But they both realized that possessing the truth wasn't enough. They had to reach. They needed someone who couldn't be bribed or shut up. Serena then got in touch with Kendra Vance, a local reporter she recalled from a municipal council protest. A journalist who is black, not dependent, unstoppable. She sent a note. "I have video proof that Blaine Harlan hurt me and Victoria is still alive. She gave it to me herself. Kendra got back to me. Come to my studio. Bring it all. Tomorrow we go live." It wasn't a press release. It wasn't a tip about a scandal. There was war. Serena took a breath, put the flash drive in a Ziploc bag, and glanced at herself in the mirror. No makeup, no uniform. She stood alone, carrying the burden of another woman's silence. And for the first time in days, she wasn't scared. She was ready. The interview started sharp. There were no lights in the studio. There was no crew of makeup artists there. No polish on the network. There was only a couch, a microphone, and two women who were honest. Serena Hale's voice was firm, and her eyes were clear. Kendra Vance, sharp and clear, giving the story room to breathe. The film began with images of Victoria in the hospital, showing her bruises, her voice, and her anguish. Then there was the video of the ballroom, the slap in the hall, the quiet, the fear. The flash drive finally came out. Everything Blaine Harlan's public relations team had tried to hide was suddenly out in the open. Not filtered, not changed, no doubt. The video received millions of views before lunchtime. The hashtags were popular all across the world. Number justice for Victoria. Number Serena spoke. Number hidden worth. Big news outlets rushed to catch up. CNN, MSNBC, even the late-night hosts spoke up. Some people said Serena was brave. Some people doubted her reasons. Some others tried to change the story by saying that Victoria and Serena planned it. But the video spoke louder than the spin. At the same time, Blaine Harlan went dark. His team called off press events, canceled meetings about investments. He froze his social media accounts, but the quiet simply made things worse. People who used to work there started to speak up. Old lawsuits came back. A former intern spoke up saying that they were verbally abused, forced to do things, and threatened. The price of Harlan Dynamics stock had decreased by sunset. Investors wanted a statement. Members of the board planned an emergency vote, and an official investigation started. For her part, Serena stayed quiet. Not because I'm scared, but the work spoke for itself. She didn't have to yell. They had already heard her. That night, Rhys brought her dinner. They sat on the floor and ate fried chicken while watching the world react. He turned to see and smiled. "You lit a fire." She shook her head. "I lit a match." The rest was already dried. The email came next from Victoria. "They're trying to move me again. I don't feel safe." Serena's stomach sank. The storm wasn't over yet. It had only changed shape. The fight was no longer just about justice. Now it was all about safety. To Victoria, to Serena, this is for everyone who thought that coming up would ruin their lives. Because now they knew being quiet doesn't keep you safe. Only the truth does. It wasn't labeled a trial yet. Not in an official way, but everyone knew what it was. After the video went viral, Blaine Harlan was called to court. The video had been verified. It was determined that Victoria's medical records were real. Gathered witness statements. There was a lot of public pressure, but he didn't go down without a fight. His lawyers came with a lot of powerful lawsuits. They filed motions, stopped the proceedings. There were questions about the footage's legitimacy. People were questioning Serena's credibility. She has no legal standing. She wants attention. She changed the video. They even said that Victoria was mentally unstable. They said she had a history of emotional outbursts. It was mean, thought out, and what was expected. Serena sat through every hearing. Not because she had to, because she didn't want to. She saw Blaine in court. He was calm, well-dressed, and arrogant. He still hoped he would win. That money would make all that had previously been witnessed go away. That power might change the truth. But power was losing ground. Kendra was brutally honest about every hearing. People kept watching like it was a primetime show. The headlines all read like a countdown. Will Harlan fall? Day 3 of the hearing. The billionaire and the black waitress. Why the hidden worth story is more important than ever. The system couldn't look away this time. Then the most important moment came. A former executive at Harlan who had been unidentified until that day mounted the stand. White in the middle of life, man. Blaine thought he could control the man's voice exactly like that. He didn't. The man swore to tell the truth. Yes, I saw him hit Victoria more than once. Yes, I helped hide it. I was scared. We all were. The courtroom was quiet. Blaine's lawyer stopped. Serena felt something in her lungs that she hadn't felt. Hope. The judge asked for a break. There were a lot of reporters outside. Blaine appeared shaken for the first time inside. That night, the stock of Harlan Dynamics fell again. More people on the board quit. Corporate sponsors pulled out. And what about Victoria? She watched everything from a safe house, holding Serena's hand. They were both quiet, but not terrified anymore. The trial wasn't done yet. But something had changed. It didn't matter if they won or lost. It was about standing. When truth goes up against power, it doesn't just break. It shatters. And when it does, light came through the fissures. A year may alter everything. And it did for Serena Hale. The fights in court were done. Blaine Harlan will spend years in federal prison. His empire fell apart. Businesses were sold. Buildings were given new names. And the name Harlan became a warning rather than a legacy. But this story was never about him. It was about what happened next. Serena stood in front of a little brick building on the east side of New Orleans. For years, no one had used the aging community center. Now it has a new name in gold letters on the front, the Lights Foundation. Sunlight came in through windows that had been boarded up in the past. There were a lot of chairs in a row, a stand, a group of volunteers smiling despite their tears. Serena was at the front of it all, holding a microphone and not shaking her hands anymore. "This isn't just a building," she replied with a strong, steady voice. "This is a promise. The foundation of light was not created with donations. People had the guts to build it. People from all over the country gave money, survivors, allies, and regular people who thought that voices like Serena's deserved to be heard and protected. The center did more than just provide refuge. It gave legal help, counseling. It also offered workshops on how to speak up and what happens after that. And certainly, it gave me hope. There was also Victoria Harlan. She stood still in the back. The hair has grown back. Her eyes were softer but smarter. She didn't want to be in the spotlight. She had already made it through the storm. After the ribbon was cut, a girl came up to Serena. Maybe 8, 9, maybe. She had large eyes and held a notebook to her chest. "Miss Serena," she said, "my teacher showed us your video. I want to be as brave as you." Serena got down on her knees. "You already are." The girl grinned and ran off. Rhys, who was nearby, laughed. "Now you're a hero to someone." Serena gazed around at the room full of strangers who felt like family. She stated, "I'm just a woman who didn't keep quiet, but in reality, she had become more. A voice that started a revolution. A sign that truth doesn't always shout, but when it does, it shakes the world. The foundation of light was never about just one individual. It was for all of them. Everyone who had ever been quiet, not seen, not remembered, they had a place to be seen now. They finally had a way to get their point across. They were eager to start over. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is get up and stay up. Being brave doesn't always mean giving loud statements or raising your fists. It can seem like a lady in a server's uniform who is quiet, fatigued, and terrified. But she chooses to speak while everyone else is silent. Serena Hale never wanted to be a symbol. She never wanted to be in the news. She only wanted to do the right thing. She stayed strong even when it looked like no one would help her. But here's the thing about the truth. It doesn't require a lot of people to start a fire. Say, one person can start the fire. Serena's narrative teaches us more than simply about power or injustice. It shows us what happens when fear meets purpose. It reminds us that systems can let us down, that money can stop the news, that power usually puts itself first. But it also reminds us that people are watching. And when the truth finally gets out, it can't be stopped. This isn't only a story about black people. It's not only a woman's story. It's a narrative about people, about having respect, about the voice. It's about deciding to stay standing, even when the world tells you to sit down. And maybe you're thinking this as you watch. I'm not as brave as she is. I don't have a platform. There's only one of me. But that's exactly who Serena was. She didn't have a lot of followers. She didn't have lawyers or bodyguards. Her hands were shaking and her phone was damaged. And yet she came. That's what's important. Fearlessness doesn't give you bravery. It comes from doing the right thing. Even when you're scared, we rise because we are afraid. And every time someone doesn't want to be invisible, every time someone who isn't involved speaks up, together we make something stronger. If Serena's story touched you, if it simply kindled a small light inside you, so don't let it go away. Tell this narrative. Tell someone about Serena. Speak about Victoria. Talk in places where it's okay to be quiet. Give money to shelters in your area. Support true news. And most importantly, believe survivors. The world doesn't alter when the powerful fall. Things change when those who aren't heard finally speak up. You've been watching Hidden Worth, where the softest voices are the loudest. And if you're still here, you might have been meant to hear this. Don't just scroll past it. Be the witness, be the light, be the fire.